We start the week with brand new stadium renderings. Columbus, Vancouver, Miami continue to lead the way in Major League Soccer. And is American soccer actually doing well? That and more on Monday's Morning Kick Around. Hello and welcome to the show. This is Morning Kick Around, where we cover the world's most favoritist game from the world's favorite country, coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm Robert Kerr. He's Jason Davis. David Peckham crowed us in. Hopefully everyone's feeling good on Monday, April 14th. I'm feeling good. I'm riding high. Undercard of championships for me this weekend. Peterborough United defeating Tom Brady's Birmingham City for the EFL trophy over the weekend. And you and I had an MK Derby and didn't even know it, with my Western Michigan Broncos taking your guys down.
Yeah, that's college hockey. This is not a college hockey show. This is a soccer show. So we don't have to linger on 6-2 in a Frozen Four final. We don't have to do that. We can just move on. I'm happy BU got to where they got, and
I'm glad you mentioned the 6-2 that happened, because I wasn't even going to mention 6-2 until you mentioned the 6-2, but we can move on from here on out, right?
What am I going to deny that was the score? I mean, I think, again, BU was not supposed to be where they were. The Western Michigan Broncos were supposed to be where they were, or were more likely to be there per the conventional wisdom than my Terriers. So congratulations to the Terriers on an incredible run, and whatever, go back off to wherever Western Michigan is. I have no idea. Where is that?
My alma mater in the beautiful Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Kalamazoo.
Home of multiple Daily Show correspondents, if you didn't know that. But first time ever, first time to the final, first time winner, Western Michigan Broncos. But that's not the show we're doing. This is an American soccer show. And we are creeping up on 2,000 subscribers. We got to shoot off some confetti if we reach that during the show, but we're creeping up on that.
And I've promised that if and when we get to 2,000, we will enter everybody who subscribed, or you may have to opt in to be to be entered into the drawing. But we will start. I will give away some of my American soccer ephemera here. I got probably not the jerseys, but we talk about that. We can negotiate. But I will try to do a video of all the nonsense that surrounds me in this studio I'm in. And should you want something, you can have it. I think I showed my Oops Chicago Fire bad logo flag that I picked up just this past week.
That's a good one.
I've got lots of scarves. I've got bobbleheads. I've got random stuff. So there you go.
What would you say is your percentage of teams that are still active to not active of your paraphernalia?
I don't know the percentage. I do have a lot of dead soccer team stuff. And I do think that at one point on this show, I'd like to bring back something I used to do on my show, The United States of Soccer, on the radio, which is Ghost of Soccer Past, where we tell the story of a dead American soccer club, because we don't want to forget that these, what do they say? Like, somebody's not really dead until the last person who knew them passes, has a memory of them passes. I want to make sure we keep these American soccer club stories alive, because there are lots of teams out there people loved desperately that are now gone. They are lost to the mists of history, and I would like to remember them.
So subscribe and you might get in the pool for that. And also there's a lot of new stuff going on the YouTube channel. There's also memberships available. You're being very generous talking about items. What about the information on the memberships, Jason?
Yeah, go sign up for a membership at Morning Kick Around, and you get access. We got a Discord. We're getting that off the ground, so we'll have a little community to build over there on the Discord. But you'll get some priority in terms of comments and chats during the live show and the things that we do. And I think bonus content is coming down the line as well. I know we want to respond to some comments that we got about ProRel, about MLS being fake. That was quite a thing last week. MLS is fake. It's not real. What does that even mean? So we'll do some extra stuff for you if you sign up and support the show.
There's also new offerings within the last few weeks. We've added a podcast. You can search for Morning Kick Around on your platform of choice, and you can get it there now. Glad to have added that to the arsenal, and you can follow along at mkickaround on X, Instagram, and the Blue Sky. Getting more and more active on there as the followers add up, and then also Ko-fi or coffee.com/morning kickaround. We've gotten some more donations and subscriptions over there. So thank you to everyone who has already contributed on coffee.com/morning kickaround. Looking to expand on that. And then is there anything else? That's a lot of updates.
That's some business. Let's get into the actual soccer. Let's entertain the folks by talking about what's going on in our beautiful American game.
All right, Monday's long balls here on Morning Kickaround. Let's go. Long ball number one here on Monday's Morning Kickaround. I'm Robert. He's Jason. Starting the week off with something fun. We like a good stadium rendering on this program, and Buffalo announced their USL Championship side will be building a 7,600 seat stadium in the Valley neighborhood.
This is something we get excited about is rendering. Somebody once upon a time called them these rendering stadium porn, and you may not love the idea of pornography, but in terms of getting excited about stadiums, this is what we do. We get excited, and we included Buffalo in our expansion team update that we did a while back, a couple months ago, I think. At this point, Rob, so this is a new development on a story that we've told a little bit about, which is Buffalo getting a pro soccer team. This is the rendering. 7,600 seats is not large, right? It's not going to meet PSL for first division status. We know that. But in terms of getting something off the ground, and there's the story over at USLsoccer.com on this says it will be privately funded. I always take a little bit of a skeptical look at those things. For example, if you want a story about how privately funded can sometimes mean money still comes from public sources, go check out what's happening with the NWSL Stadium in Denver that is currently being planned.
And then sometimes promises for revitalizing areas don't always come to fruition down the line.
Yeah, that's true. That is the case. We reported that Buffalo was looking at a couple of different sites. I believe this is obviously one of the candidates, so this has apparently won out. Set to be located at Elk and Lee Street, the stadium will serve as a driving force in the development of a new entertainment district. Oh, what were you just saying, Rob? You were saying about something about
revitalizing.
Anyway, yeah, revitalizing. So they have renderings here. Look, I don't like getting too precious about this stuff. Now, I don't want anybody to be taken advantage of, meaning the city of Buffalo, the people of Buffalo. I don't like big promises if there's not really a sense they're going to be fulfilled, or if there's promises just to get something done before you ultimately pull the plug. But I will say I'm excited about this. Buffalo definitely feels like a place that should have a successful professional soccer team in America. Now, they will have to play in the summer because I don't think they can play in the winter in Buffalo ever. But this is good news. I'm excited.
Yeah, Buffalo definitely in the top 3 snowiest places I think you can really name on the map. But I think an interesting note to this is you mentioned it, the expected attendance capacity of 7,600 under the PLS for at least the first division standards. Do you think that if they're investing this level of money, they think that there's an opportunity for some change in PLS? I feel like you're not going to invest this amount of money and self-limit yourself right out the gate, right?
Well, I mean, I think this is about so what I will say about this, right? Even as we are skeptical and cynical about these promises that come about entertainment districts and all those things, I will say that this sounds like an organization or a new concern in Buffalo Pro Soccer who's being somewhat reasonable with their expectations, Rob. They're not shooting for the moon, right? They're not like, we're going to build a 20,000 seat stadium for a team that's never played a game, to potentially to be in a league that doesn't exist yet. Like, go 7,600, and then clearly there's an opportunity to add seats here, right? Again, this is sort of like this is a rector set basic level, right? This is sort of like you get the stadium in a box, you pop it up, you play games, hopefully you get excitement in Buffalo, and then they can always go back and say, well, we can raise more money. Some wealthy Buffalonians, Buffalites,
Buffalite,
Buffaloes,
Buffsanian.
those people might throw some money at the club, invest in the ownership group, and then you can build more.
Yeah, looking at that extra green space around the periphery of the stands they've drawn up there could definitely make way probably for bigger stands in the future. I do like that they have at least one covered side. I always
Yes,
appreciate a covered
right.
stand.
Yeah, you got to have at least one covered stand. Imagine, obviously, press box will be there, something to that effect. I will say this too about this rendering. I'd love a good rendering. I'm sort of an aficionado about renderings. I love random. This is we don't have close-ups here of like the woman walking with her daughter or like the random guy on his cell phone, which is
Yeah.
usually what happens.
Someone
But
holding a balloon?
I can't imagine that there's going to be this much empty space sort of behind the stands. Like they're going to fill that space with stuff, right? There's going to be like kiosks. There's going to be vendors of various types. Like that's where you would have
Jump, bounce out.
garden, that kind of. But maybe I would argue against the bouncy house. I would argue against that. We've seen that in MLS. I would like us to get away from that as an American soccer community, but sure, you can put one there for the kids.
What's wrong with the bounce house? That's a lower league staple.
I know it is. I know it is. I don't know. If there's nothing that says we're minor league more than having a bounce house in your stadium.
Wow. So if there was just like, so if an MLS team did like an extravagant one, what's an animal referenced MLS team? Is there an animal?
I don't know. Like
MLS
a
team?
lion, like RSL's got that lion, that sort of weird Rasta lion. But did you know
And
that was their mascot? They have a weird Rasta lion.
it'd be pretty
Oh, no,
cool to
that's
jump in a
Orlando.
giant inflatable
My
lion or
apologies.
something.
My apologies. RSL has a normal lion. Orlando has a weird Rasta lion. That's my mistake. But yes, an inflatable lion. You want to jump inside an inflatable lion?
Jump like crazy, man.
Don't do that again. Do not do that again.
All right. So now we're going to go long ball number 2. We're going to go from renderings to current reality. And some MLS teams are dealing with some early season underachievement. The top 2 are easy to name. We'll try to work down who might be the third or fourth most underachieving team so far in the early Major League Soccer season. But right out the gate, East and West, Atlanta and Galaxy, far and away the most underachieving in Major League Soccer so far.
Yeah, and I think, we've gone to great lengths. How many of us have gone to great lengths to kind of give the Galaxy a bit of a pass in all of this and
Yeah,
say,
we talked about this
well,
before. There's so many reasons.
it's so hard when you've basically had your team stripped down, and that's not necessarily all your fault. Obviously, losing a key figure to a major injury is not something that anybody in this league can really deal with. Very few teams around the world could deal with or handle losing a player like Ricky Puig, Rob. So it's not ideal. And so you kind of go, well, is this really on them, or is this more on the league structure and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, like, be at least passable, like be at least competent.
Maybe everyone thought they might sink down to like middle of the pack for a little while until they get it together. But this is just it's not mediocre. This is bad.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. Like in this league, I think it's possible, even if you are missing key pieces, even if you are dealing with players being absent, that you definitely need to be good or be great or to be a champion. I don't know. Here's the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Columbus at the top. Let me make things a little bit clearer for you there. Columbus at the top. Charlotte, who's having a good start to the season, and Atlanta United down there in 11th on 9 points from 8 games. Couple of wins. I guess. Okay, this is what we did. We hyped them up because they went and spent a bunch of money. Now they got good players. I think Latte Lath is a good player, and obviously Almiron is a good player. He's a good enough player to be a difference maker in Major League Soccer. But it hasn't clicked yet. They have a new manager. Like, should we be giving more leeway to Atlanta United, Rob? Because a lot of this is coming together just now, and they're only 8 games into their season.
Yeah, there's about 25 games to go. I think they have plenty of time to figure it out. Perhaps new coach Ronnie Deila doesn't know his best 11 yet. I've heard some talk of they're imbalanced, they're not quite cohesive yet, and that's pretty clear. Are they not playing the style that those new additions need?
Right.
Is there a midfielder? I mean, obviously, Almiron plays in space. Latte Laf seems like, from what I've seen of him, seems like the last touch finisher in the box for the most part. I guess, do they have the connector midfielder? Is there yet another piece missing, even though they've spent all the money, or are they just not playing the right players in the right places just yet?
Well,
I
I mean,
think there's
that's
time. There's definitely time for them to turn around for sure.
of course, and it doesn't help that you lose at home to a team that has been extremely poor for the better part of a year and a half, right? In New England, and maybe New England is improving, but man, you lose at home to New England. You can't find a goal. That's rough. Here's the Western Conference. You mentioned the Galaxy. Obviously, they're down, way down the bottom. They don't have a win yet. That
It's
is that
wild.
is
It's
that
wild.
look, again, just with sort of like we figure out our structure and maybe we play ugly football for a little while, you should be able to collect more points than that, right? Based on being a defending champion. Like if you're Sporting Kansas City, we're not sitting here going, "Well, I can't believe Sporting Kansas City's in 14th." Everybody understands why Sporting Kansas City is in 14th. But the
Mm-hmm.
Dynamo are but Dynamo are disappointing too, by the way. Now, again, you can do this thing where you go, well, they lost two of their key pieces from last season in Hector Herrera and Carrasquilla. Right? They lost key pieces. They sold one spit on a guy, so you can't have that. So but it's also on the club to replace those players. Like it's on the club to figure out a way to be consistently decent from year to year, and that's where the oh god, this really stinks stuff comes in.
Even with all the caveats that we mentioned and all the going out of our way to help the Galaxy, be understanding towards their plight, at what point is the coach, can the coach at the Galaxy face the hot seat in this? Do you think he gets a full season just off the back of winning MLS Cup last year?
Oh,
And given
yeah.
the caveats, is MLS cutthroat enough to, or the Galaxy organization cutthroat enough to part ways with the coach that, the next season after a championship?
I don't think it can be reasonably justified. Like, I don't think if you're being logical about it, you can justify firing Greg Vanney after he won a championship. And again, there are lots of reasons to say it's not his fault or it's not entirely his fault. I guess that's the tension. If you are making the decisions for LA Galaxy, are you looking at this and going, well, Greg should be doing better? Like, yes, we lost a bunch of guys and Ricky's been hurt and all these things, but he should be doing better. And therefore, if he's not doing better, maybe somebody else could come in and do better. And I guess again, this is sort of that thing that's in the air of like, is this a season that you kind of just chalk up as a rebuild or a lost year because of all the things that have happened to your roster and the injuries? And then you have no justification for firing Vanny because you're already, as an organization, you're kind of punting on the season. Or are you setting a standard as the Galaxy and you are the most successful team in MLS history when it comes to MLS Cup titles? Are you always thinking we have to be involved in the title hunt? And if we're not, that's a failure. Make changes. Right. And I think this is something that's interesting about Major League Soccer, right? And interesting for some people might be terrible for others. But we talk about the number of playoff teams, that safety net that is 9 spots in each conference getting an opportunity to play for a championship. We talk about the lack of promotion and relegation. And as long as those things are there, as long as those are part of the equation when it comes to Major League Soccer, it makes it harder to get to this place of, well, if we're not in first place, second place, third place, if we're not around the league leaders, that's a failure for us. We set a high enough standard that we get to act like Real Madrid. We get to act like Manchester City, anybody else, right? And how you deal with disappointment, a la Manchester United, kind of shows all of your flaws, your warts, it uncovers all the ugliness. The Galaxy exists in a league where you can't really get your place to that mental level of being, if we're not in the title race every single moment of every single season, that's failure. We make changes.
Who would you say is then the third place most underperforming out of everyone? You said Houston Dynamo. Do you think that maybe New England is in there, or were they kind of expected to be
I
where
mean,
they
New
are?
England wasn't expected to be good. I don't think New England was expected to be good. I do think that you could say they were expected to be better, and that's why it's somewhat surprising that they've held on to Caleb Porter and can continue to give him more leash to figure it out. Um, you know, it's also by comparison, right? You look at clubs and the ones that are succeeding, and you compare them to others, and you go, well, if that team can do this, why can't we do this? Why did we fail? And obviously, it goes beyond a coach in a league where sporting directors and technical directors and all those things make the decisions about rosters. You also lay it at their feet, so it's kind of this double act situation. So again, when I look at the standings and I look at the clubs like New England, DC doesn't spend enough. It's not really on the GM, it's on the club itself not giving Troy Liston enough weapons to be successful. You look at Atlanta, again, they spend a ton of money, so that raises the expectation for Ronnie Dyla. Is it Ronnie Dyla's fault that Atlanta United's not succeeding right now? Well, it could be, and we were all excited because he's an MLS Cup winning head coach, and you think that he's going to figure it out pretty quickly, and he hasn't. So again, and then you look at the clubs that are succeeding. Oh, look at what Charlotte's doing. They spent some money. They got some pieces in. They've got a coach who is in his second year, and he's got them playing some of the best soccer in the league right there behind Columbus. So when you compare what some other teams, and you look at you and go, why not us? That why not us can become the reason to kind of think we need to change things.
LA Galaxy are next up against Austin FC, and then Atlanta United, they face against Philadelphia in their next one. And one of the main supporters of the show, Mike Thomas, also a Ko-Fi contributor or coffee contributor. Mike Thomas, Atlanta going to hit Slump Buster FC next week. Is it really that bad for Philadelphia? Is the temperature that cold over there?
Well, okay, so yeah, let's go back to results from the weekend. When did Philly play? So I want to make sure I get the Phillies result on screen. They played yesterday. They played yesterday, right? Okay, no, there it is.
Oh boy,
we're missing it. There it is. NYCFC beating the Union, and that the Union started off so strong, right? And we're like, oh, look at what's happening. And Bradley Carnell and Ernst Tanner went public.
It was the false spring.
It went public with his statements of how I did it. I got it right. We made the right choice. Firing Jim Curtin was the right thing to do because look at us now. Look at what we're doing. Now they sold Daniel Gazdag. Whether Gazdag is the key to this, I don't know, because they were spiraling, as Mike said, before Gazdag left. Gazdag did make his debut for Columbus over the weekend, by the way. So, and again, you look at the results, and Philly, who started out so strong and was top of the table, has now failed to win in their last three. They lost to Miami, they drew with Orlando, and now here they are goalless again against NYCFC. Ty Baribo was the guy carrying them on the scoring end, and he hasn't scored recently. So that all, again, false dawn. Was that not really who they are? It's a long season, and we don't know.
Moving on to long ball number 3 here today. We go from underperforming to the league leaders, and impressed again over the weekend. Columbus in the East, Vancouver Whitecaps in the West. I don't think these two teams were necessarily picked, especially Vancouver, picked to be the league leaders at this point, but Columbus seems to go strength to strength. How about those teams? Do you think that these two can lead the way moving forward, or is it a little too early for all that?
I'm actually framed this completely differently, Rob, because I put this on Blue Sky. I told you about this morning. I put this on Blue Sky. What should we talk about today? And Courtney came at me on Blue Sky. Davis Jason is my handle, and just my name's reversed if you want to follow me. Courtney is a Crew fan, and Courtney said, pick your fighter. So basically, let's imagine you are going into a one-game situation. You have to win. You are defending the honor of Major League Soccer, and you've got to pick the team. You're the boss. You've got to pick a team to represent MLS in the Mortal Kombat tournament of soccer, Rob. Not fighting, playing soccer games. Let's make that clear. Who are you taking? Columbus, Vancouver, or Miami?
It's very difficult to rule against the greatest of all time, who is in that trifecta. Vancouver Whitecaps, very, very strong, but based on it's hard to necessarily pick them over the other ones. And then Columbus, just like I said earlier, they just keep going from strength to strength. They look to be undermanned, continued to win, and then just added a replacement to enhance the quality. So I will go Columbus for pick my fighter, just for
Really? Okay.
If I feel like they have more depth, and there's a couple pieces if they go missing for Miami. I think Miami lives right on the edge of it. The wheels coming off, I think, at times.
Okay. Well, but I mean, we're talking about their best 11. I mean, I guess what we're talking about is what they have available to them now. And these teams are relatively healthy, except for Vancouver, which I'll come to. So I'll talk it out the way that you did. Obviously, Miami has, as you said, the greatest player of all time. They've got a certain know-how about them. They've got a quality. Suarez cannot be missed in terms of what makes Miami so difficult to beat. Columbus has got the best coach in Major League Soccer. That's not a controversial statement.
So is Columbus Scorpion? Vancouver is Sub-Zero, right. And then what is Miami?
Color scheme wise, you're doing this a color scheme thing right now.
And Columbus lures them in. Get over here. Vancouver ices out their opponents. What does Miami do?
Raiden is Miami Raiden? Lightning? Isn't he a lightning guy? Like storms and tormentas? Like that's Miami, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So strike with the lightning ferocity, and they've got big hats. I don't know about the big hats. All right. So again, you've got the best player on the planet, the best player of his generation, the best player of all time. You got the best coach in Major League Soccer with a collection of talent. I'm not looking past Columbus's talents as a factor here, and they're unbeaten in the league for a reason. And then you have Vancouver, who has been doing this, as our man Mike Thomas said, has been doing this amidst the CONCACAF Champions Cup campaign, where they have now knocked off 2 Mexican opponents in 2 different series and back-to-back, and did it without Ryan Gauld, their best attacking player.
Yeah,
I think, and I'm going gut here. I'm not even going rational thinking. I think if we're talking about the best team, I think it might be Columbus. I think if we're talking about a team that you could never count out, it's probably Miami. I'm talking about the team that has the momentum, that has the spirit, that feels like they right now, and they don't have the toughest schedule so far in Major League Soccer, Vancouver. They haven't beaten anybody of real note yet in the league.
Caveat, yeah.
But I am throwing the Mexican results into this group and into this equation, and I'm picking Vancouver. I'm picking the Canadians. I'm picking Sub-Zero.
Oh, Sub-Zero with the win. So what was your move? Were you the freeze the guy or shoot the ice at his feet?
No, I was a Scorpion get over here guy. I was that guy most of the time. My Mortal Kombat experience is way less than my Street Fighter 2 experience, because I was a Nintendo family, not a Genesis family. It was whole thing. Yeah.
So maybe there's a little bit of oil and water, because I grew up a Sega guy. So
I mean, I liked it. We just didn't have one. I had to go to a friend's house to play it, and and then if you don't play it on a regular basis, if you're only playing it like weekend sleepovers or whatever, it's a different relationship to the game.
I was gonna say, was there any Mortal Kombat characters that had like a symbiosis where there was like a brain and then like a big guy getting controlled? Because that could be related to the best coach. That actually might be Ninja Turtles. One of the bad guys had the brain and he controlled the big guy.
Wasn't that like Krang or something?
Yeah. I'm getting my my 90s mixed up, but yeah. But
I'm just glad I got Raiden's powers correct. I think I got Raiden's powers correct in the lightning situation. If we're wrong on any Mortal Kombat,
no, you're spot on with that.
Mike says LAFC is Johnny Cage. So throw out your MLS teams as Mortal Kombat characters, and we will happily talk about them on this show.
And you know what's really cool? My kid plays Rocket League, and there's a new like Mortal Kombat release, and there's a goal celebration where the Scorpion Get Over Here comes out and like grabs the nice. Conceding player, which is pretty cool.
And your kid has no concept of what that's all about.
We've gone to arcades. He knows Mortal Kombat. He knows Mortal Kombat. His dad, the worst parenting I ever did was beat him 19 times in a row, and that led to quite the tantrum at a public arcade. I'll tell you, he didn't want to lose, but it was 19 in a row. But if you want more of this, support the show. Hit subscribe. Morning Kick Around, creeping towards 2,000 subscribers. Join the fun, join the chat. Everything kind of like the conversation here, the American soccer conversation gets richer with your participation, and you're joining the MK Ultras, and that continues to grow, which is fantastic. You can follow the show on social media at mkickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. You can write us an email, morningkickaround@gmail.com. We've got a couple nice notes on there. Thank you for sending those in. And then we got a couple over the weekend, coffee.com/morningkickaround. We got some followers, some subscribers, and some donations there. So thank you so much for those. That helps tremendously. And it encourages us to keep pushing on and keep doing the show. And your support helps make it sustainable and then move forward towards some growth. Right, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. One more comment on this video video game thing. Chris says Virtua Fighter was the better game. Much like Nutella on toast is superior to peanut butter on toast. Jason. First of all, I'm famous for not liking Nutella. I think it's too much.
Hey, we get along on that one, and never did it. Never can do Nutella.
I am okay with peanut butter, but I don't do peanut butter on toast. But I would say that Virtua Fighter, you want to claim that? That's fine. I was also a Tekken guy, so Tekken was my game. But let's move on.
All right, let's go. Today's hot topic here on Morning Kick Around. Let's go. Hot topic here on Morning Kick Around. This is Monday, April 14th. A couple weeks ago, we had one of the best midweeks of American soccer in recent memory with the U.S. Open Cup second round, third round on the way, starting on Tuesday night. I think we almost even undersold how much fun that was a couple weeks ago. We had a couple segments on. You can look back at some of the top moments of the U.S. Open Cup. I don't even really know where to start. I'll be going myself to DCFC versus Westchester FC. The first game of the window is Columbus Crew versus Pittsburgh Riverhounds. The big MLS team's not in it. We're going to look at kind of like the biggest potential upsets. Do we have Cinderella on our hands? But I want to say with how fun and engaging the second round is, and then we'll see what happens with this third. Do you think that the Major League Soccer teams are trending towards joining this? Because they seem like they're missing out. I mean, this is good fun.
I mean, I don't know that that's the question. I mean, I think MLS has made their choice because of, they've done that on business reasons, or that's how they'll frame it, right, Rob? Is that they're saying,
of course. Like, yeah, I know. We've gone through all that, but I was just going to say, like, do they seem like they're missing out, or is is it the competition's loss, or is it their loss at this point?
No, I don't. I mean, the competition changes when you have the big clubs in it, right? The big teams, the MLS sides, who there is always a question of, do they really care, right? Those things are sort of part of the narrative when you talk about the Open Cup, and when we get to the third and fourth round, and when MLS teams come into it, I'm okay with this, right? Let this be the playground of the lower division teams. Let this be about, obviously there's not many amateur sides left, but let this be about the lower division clubs that we now get a chance to learn about as we go through. I'm going to see if I can get this working. Here it is, the schedule for the third round of matches.
You can't see it at the top. That is Columbus Crew 2 versus Pittsburgh Riverhounds in the first game. There you go.
Yeah. So we got, and again, I think Columbus Crew 2 is, so one thing that I got to catch up on is when everybody's entering. That's always, and this is a tournament that constantly changes, right? I mean, obviously MLS pulling out as they did last year, and then getting to this place of like, okay, well, some of our teams will play, and then which ones are, when will those things happen? But I think you've got great stories here. Like, forget about the MLS teams or even the MLS affiliated MLS Next Pro outfits. You got Portland Hearts of Pine, who pulled off a cardiac kids kind of thing up against Rhode Island. That's New England on New England, right? Across a division, which, yes, they're both USL teams, but they're USL teams at different levels. Union Omaha and San Antonio, same thing. That game in Omaha. So the third division side is hosting the USL championship side. I see that Detroit City, local to you, has got Westchester. That's a
I'm interested to see that team.
A brand new team that barely anybody knows even exists in, I think, League One, right?
Yep.
So and then same thing for Antelope Valley Alta, AV Alta, who had the cardiac kids event of their own in the Open Cup against LAFC 2, I think they beat, right? And they had the shirt celebration. That means now the guy who scored the winning goal can't play in this round because he got suspended with the red card. against Orange County, which is you know, has some history. They've won the second division of soccer in this country, has Orange County SC, and they had that whole thing, that back and forth. You want to talk about stories? They had that fight over their home venue with the LA Galaxy, who wanted to put their second division team, their second team in that stadium, and that became a thing. I remember covering that on various things I was doing. Let's see, what else do we got here? Sacramento Republic. That's my hometown, Sacramento, California, where I was born and raised for 2 months. They get El Farolito, so that's kind of a local situation. El Farolito out of San Francisco. I think I've mentioned this.
That was one of the top moments on the segment when we reviewed round 2. Was the burrito store supported team, going on that great run, and I mean having an in-state rivalry. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was going to say that I've mentioned that I'm headed to San Francisco a week from tomorrow, I think is when I leave. And I'm looking forward to the trip. I'm going to go to Napa and do all that fancy wine things, but I'm going to also try to go and I don't know if I don't know, depends on whether I'm hungry or not, if I'm going to eat El Farolito burrito. But I'm definitely going to go to the store. I'm definitely going to go to the restaurant and take a picture and be like, look where I'm at, in front of El Farolito.
I'm definitely I got a little bit of psychological thing going on, because you just mentioned delicious foods, and my mind already started wandering to what to have for lunch. But should we hone down to some of the games on hand? I said I'm going to be going to DCFC versus Westchester. Excited to see that, and like you said, brand new team. Naples is taking on Tampa Bay Rowdies. FC Naples, a very young team. I think they might be leading the way in USL attendance.
They are, so I leading the way in the league. They're on 14 points. They've won 4 times and lost twice, or drawn twice, and have not lost a game yet on the season. They've only given up 2 goals in 6 games. So they're one of the stories of USL League One this season. Again, an expanded USL League One. And I think the Open Cup is a nice way for those of us who maybe aren't always paying attention to what's happening in the third division in USL League One. Maybe for people whose job it, who don't have it as part of their job to pay attention. You get the Open Cup and you go, oh, FC Naples, what's that all about? Oh, they're professional. Oh, they're in League One. Oh, they're leading League One. Oh, and also, there's some other teams down there I didn't know about. Did I know that Spokane had a team, Spokane Velocity? Did I know they're not in their first year, but did I know about AV Alta? Did I know about Westchester? Did I know about Chattanooga Red Wolves, who we obviously spent some time with because of the Open Cup last weekend with that victory over their in-town rival who they never had played before, and that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, getting to learn new teams, but also like these teams getting to play unusual matchups both locally, and then if they do well enough, potentially a team from a much higher league than them, but also interesting interstate or within state matchups in this round.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stories here I think that are fascinating in terms of what these matchups look like. And you before we came on the air, you were mentioning the Jägermeister Cup, which is a thing that USL is doing, and I think that was always kind of like their test ground for maybe what Pro Rel could be, although they now announced that. But the Jägermeister Cup this year is going to be between all of the professional outfits in the USL, so both championship and League One teams. But here you have a little taste of that. You've got some championship teams taking on some League One teams, and in some cases having to go away and visit that League One team. So an opportunity for those clubs to, make a statement against a team that's nominally at a higher level.
So if we're gonna try to circle an upset here, there's a lot of like interesting matchups. I'm trying to think of like it would probably Farolito as far as like the lowest ranked versus the highest ranked, right?
Well, that's because Farolito is the only amateur side left in the competition.
So that's kind of an easy pick for potential upset of the round, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want a Cinderella story, you have to root against Sacramento Republic, which stinks because I'm born in Sacramento. That's mean to me. But you would be rooting for El Farolito. I do think there's other, like AV Alta hosting Orange County. I think that's still a good story. AV Alta after what they did in the last round. Let's see, Portland Hearts of Pine at home against Rhode Island.
That's the one I was gonna pick. I mean, Rhode Island, very young, but obviously a finalist in their league.
Yeah, so that they've already made a statement about their ability to compete at the level that they're in. I mean, I think Pittsburgh has to go to Columbus and play an MLS Next Pro team, and I don't know how you sort of judge the level there, but because Pittsburgh is a second division team, and Columbus Crew 2 is not only a third division team. But I think Pittsburgh beating Columbus would be something for people in Pittsburgh. I think they'd be excited about that. So I'm looking at that one again. Naples and Tampa. That one.
Yeah, that would be
Would
huge.
real
That would
tasty.
really, bring awareness to that new team in Naples if they beat Tampa Bay. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Rowdies have a history and a name, and have done some big things in their division. And so I was going to say Union Omaha and San Antonio. Union Omaha is not having the best season so far. Very early, only 3 matches in. They've only played 3 games. The USL League One schedule is a little unbalanced at the moment, so it's tough to tell,
Where's where?
who's what where. Union's only played 3 times. They've only won once. But they are, that's obviously a team defending champion of the
Yeah,
USL.
another American champ with a hangover here this year.
Perhaps, but I think you give them a decent shot to beat San Antonio, particularly at home. I think that one is really interesting. There is another MLS 2 team in here, and it's Tacoma Defiance, who I hadn't spotted. I mean, I know I'd seen that, but I forgot to kind of come back because Columbus Crew 2 is named Columbus Crew 2. Tacoma Defiance is the MLS Next Pro outfit for the Seattle Sounders. So that is their MLS Next Pro team. So you'll have them hosting Oakland Roots, who we do like on this show.
Yeah, games spanning at tomorrow, starting on Tuesday at 6, and then going through late night on Wednesday night. And the last game of the slate of third round games, Las Vegas Lights versus Chattanooga Red Wolves. I feel like the biggest letdown is going to come from, if I'm going to put my prediction hat on, I feel like after that super high of that Inter Chattanooga battle that was epic, both in just the game itself, the crowd, and the whole flag planting thing. They go to Las Vegas against a more experienced team, and I think that might get a little ugly for the Red Wolves because they are not doing well either in their league play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a tough trip. Vegas has improved, right, compared to what they've been in the past. There's always been a club that's kind of struggled. I mean, the playoffs for the first time last year. Go ahead.
I was going to say they've always been like more on the fun, kind of unusual operational side rather than like results on the field. It's been a little underperforming there.
The leadership, the ownership changed. Now Joey Bautista is one of the key owners, maybe the primary owner in Vegas, and they are no longer the Brett Lashbrook, Bill Vex style. Come out, put your feet in a kiddie pool, and we'll call it poolside seats kind of thing, and having flamingos, blow up flamingos and all that stuff, and dropping cash from a helicopter, and llamas. Famously had llamas. In fact, among the many things I own from American Soccer Nonsense is let me see if I can pull this down. I actually have a mask with this. I don't know where the mask is, but this is a luchador cape that the Las Vegas Lights did a couple years ago. It's backwards. There you go. You can see it. So I have a luchador mask and this cape that the Lights did as one of their promotions, because that's how the Lights do. That's how the Lights do, Rob.
So if we got about another minute to spend on this, I'm trying to think of if we only have midweek availability to watch one window of games between the Tuesday and the Wednesday. When are we going to fire up the CBS network of networks here that is showing the games moving forward? There is some good ones on both Tuesday and Wednesday. Which one are you is a can't misser for you?
I'll pick a game on Tuesday and a game on Wednesday if I have to narrow it down. So I'm going to pick Portland Hearts of Pine in Rhode Island on Tuesday. I think that's the one that stands out for me. And then on Wednesday, and we haven't mentioned Colorado Springs hosting Knoxville, so that's championship versus League One in that matchup. Indy 11, Miami. I think it's probably Naples, Tampa. I think that would be I know you're going to be going to Detroit, Westchester, but I'm going to, if I'm watching a game, I'm probably taking Naples and Tampa Bay.
An interesting lineup ahead, and I know we'll get a little bit of flack. We didn't mention New Mexico versus Locomotive. That also, I'm sure, will be quite the festive event down in that area of the country, and great lineup of games. Can't wait for more Open Cup midweek action. I feel like the midweeks have been more fun than the weekends in the last few weeks of the footing.
I mean, the entertainment value in the Open Cup has been pretty high. And again, you said it. Like, can this third round live up to what the second round delivered? We will find out.
Thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, do so now. Morning Kick Around at the YouTubes. We are creeping towards 2,000. I haven't looked at my phone, but hopefully we are getting there one subscriber at a time. And then once you've subscribed, tell your friend and family to do the same. There's a membership level available now that'll provide some perks to you and help sustain the program and help us grow this this show and the MK Ultra community along with it. Follow along at mkickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. Look for the podcast. If you're a podcast listener, you can look up Morning Kick Around on your favorite podcast platform. And another place you can support the show, coffee.com/morningkickaround. Thank you for everyone who has supported so far. And if you haven't, do so if you can. All right, we're going to move right along with our final segment of the day. Here comes the latest installment of American Soccer is Weird here on Morning Kick Around. Oh, yo. All right, American Soccer is Weird here on Morning Kick Around. I'm Robert. He's Jason. As I was preparing for today's show, I was looking through the comments and a lot of the headlines around the U.S. national team, the arguments about the calendar switch. Will Pro Row work? Won't it work? Small stadiums, big stadiums, a lot of arguing and whatnot. But I was just wanted to take a segment just to appreciate what a actually great moment we're at in American soccer right now. Like between the attendances at, the Major League Soccer stadiums, places like Nashville packing tens of thousands of people that we are almost taking for granted now that there's these places. And then even just small, like 2 weeks ago, I went to a UPSL team where they had 1,200, and we see towns large and small across the country getting great attendances. There's, so many stadium plans and new teams in the works that it's hard to keep track of. Like if you just pause the noise, it's a pretty great moment here.
I do think that we are jaded as American soccer fans. I think we are cynics for the most part. And I'm not everybody. There are some people out there who really do appreciate what this is. But we are, and I said this when we were talking about USL launching the idea of promotion relegation and some of the things that we've been talking about recently, some of the videos that we've been putting up. We talked about the TV ratings for that CBS game a week ago on Sunday and how great those numbers were. And what did it mean? What does it mean? And that's the thing. We are not capable of sort of just going, oh, that's awesome. We have to go, that's awesome, or that's awesome, and it shows X, and it means this, and that shows USL is going to take down MLS, or whatever it is. And even though I don't love that part of American soccer fan culture, and I said as much last week during our discussions about this. I said I don't like that we're always pitting ourselves against each other. It's not just about like soccer against American football, or soccer against this, or soccer against that. It's always us against us. We cannibalize each other. We take each other down. We tear each other down to the detriment of the game in the United States. And maybe it's too much to ask everybody to be kumbaya. Put your arm around your friend's shoulder and be like, yeah, you like MLS and I like USL, but we can still be friends. What you got? Chocolate in my peanut butter. Oh, you got peanut butter in my chocolate. Like whatever, trope you want to use for that. I know that's probably too much. Probably can't ask people to be happy-go-lucky about it. But every now and then, it's good. I'm glad you brought this up. This was your idea. It's good to stop and look at this and go, well, damn it, man. If you asked me 20 years ago if it would be like this, I don't know that I could have imagined it.
No, not at all. I mean, we are, like you said, jaded and taking some things for granted. And like, obviously, there's some huge challenges ahead, like these stadium plans. I mean, our plans right now, and with the current environment of building, I'm sure some of these projects are not going to get over the
But
line
but
as
but
they're expected now.
how many stadiums have been built, right? And
So
again,
many.
like you kinda get slapped with this label of being like, oh, overly positive to the point of missing the negative things that could or missing the things that need to be fixed, right? That this is what this is what people are accused of if you're like, "Oh, everything is that's so awesome. This is great. Look at this, look at that." Oh, but you're not pointing out that US soccer is corrupt and is holding the game back. You're not pointing out that MLS is only about billionaires making money. You're not pointing out, whatever it is, whatever negative read you want to have on the state of soccer in whatever particular area. If you don't point these things out, you get labeled as naive. But there absolutely is room for us to look at this and go, wait a second, this is remarkable considering how much work it took to get here. You pointed out 1,200 people going to a UPSL game. That's ridiculous. We're talking about a stadium rendering today with Buffalo Pro Soccer announcing their plans, and maybe they don't get it off the ground. But you know who did build a stadium in the second division of American soccer, a jewel of the game? That's Louisville City. I mean, could you have pictured that sort of stadium being built for a non-first division, non-MLS team 20 years ago? Again, the idea that we sort of take this stuff for granted is as soon as it's done, that is to our detriment as well, right? Because we're not letting ourselves enjoy what this is. We're preventing ourselves from actually doing what fans are supposed to do, which is enjoy the thing you're engaged with. Why always be angry with something that is ultimately a pastime, a hobby, a side quest? I mean, I hope that if soccer stopped tomorrow, your life wouldn't be over. That it would be extremely sad. I would be lost, but I don't know that I would be like, in a year or two from now, the world can't continue. There's no soccer. It's not so important that if you pull the plug on it, the world stops moving. But it's important enough to us that if we're going to engage with it, we should go, "Hey, that's cool. That's great."
I mean, you opened up a whole nother can of worms about if soccer stops, the world keeps moving. We've already lived through that once, and that was unpleasant. But I think that people's perspective of these pastimes has completely changed since that thing that we don't have to name that happened 5 years ago. I mean, was taken away from us, but it did come back, thankfully. And a lot of, I think that almost gave the COVID break almost gave people a time to plan. I've talked to many like Midwest Premier League teams and USL2 leaders and owners that that year off gave them a whole year to plot and plan, and a lot of things. I know Lansing Common is amongst the many that plot and plan their team during that break. And it is good to just pause and just appreciate. I was trying to think of I just thought of from the bottom of the pyramid to the top. Places like Tennessee has multiple professional soccer teams. I
Yeah,
mean, and when you started your radio career like 10 years ago, would that have been a laughable statement if you're like, "Hey,
absolutely.
I think there could be
Absolutely.
MLS in
I
Nashville,
mean,
and I think there
we
could be alternative lower league teams in other cities."
I think
That'd be
that
wild.
it was always possible to conceive in sort of that dreamy kind of way that there might be a team in Nashville one day, that it might even be an MLS team. I mean, obviously MLS really started to engage with its expansion era around 2000. So 2007 was TFC. I believe RSL was right in that same window. 2009 was the Seattle Sounders. Then we got really moving, right? The Pacific Northwest fills up, and then Philadelphia comes in 2010. I think Philly people can correct me, right? We started to move, but it wasn't. It still never felt like, well, we're gonna have 30,000 seat stadiums in places like Nashville, right? And again, if you engage in the details of how that happened and what it took to get it built and who was trying to maybe get one over on whom, and the local business of it, which is always kind of messy and yucky, you could be easily become a cynic about, hey, we shouldn't even have these stadiums. What are you talking about? Why are you taking public money to pay for some billionaire's plaything? And I get all that. I get that that's a reasonable thing. But again, if you just care about the soccer, if you don't want to engage with that part of it, don't take it for granted. Be excited that it's happening. Love the fact that we have, what are those numbers? Again, if we've got 25,000 going out to watch a game in Nashville, we got 62,000 people showing up to Soldier Field. Yeah, because Lionel Messi's in town. I get it. But it's still 62,000 people who chose to go to a soccer game in America, right? And then you add that to the numbers in Atlanta, or the numbers, millions of people are engaging with this game on a weekly basis, like millions upon millions of people. Now, this it remains true, and I think our audience is a perfect example of this, and it's why we're trying to pull some of these strings together. Like, we're trying to hold a bunch of stuff together at once.
For sure.
We are extremely fractured as an American soccer community, right? And you don't even have to go into USL and lower division this and engaging locally versus nationally and MLS, and you can just go, a lot of us are watching MLS, or a lot of us are watching USL, but a lot of us are watching the Premier League, and maybe those people aren't watching USL or MLS. And a lot of people are engaging with the Mexican League. By the way, the Mexican League, the Noel Guzman, Noel, I'm going to butcher that, but he stood backwards during a penalty kick from Sergio Ramos.
Yeah, I saw that one. That's some high level tomfoolery.
So people are engaging with that too, and then not engaging with the more domestic product. So American soccer, and I'm going to include all the fans of the Mexican League and everybody who watches La Liga or Serie A or Bundesliga from these shores. That's American soccer, right? American soccer is this big, vast sort of like one of those quilts where every square doesn't look like the next thing, and it's completely chaotic, and you're like, why? How does this even? But that's what this is. And I love it because I've been engaged with it for so long, and I love talking about the intricacies of it. But you could also argue that while that is beautiful in its own way, it also makes it harder for us to all pull in the same direction. So we'll see.
We shall see. Just for an added note of context towards where, like, kind of the rising interest just in general soccer, because we talked about the USL ratings and how they were similar to MLS ratings, but then also in different places around the country that don't have Major League Soccer, people are attending the soccer that is in their backyards. Yeah. So looking at the USL, the courtesy of Transfer Market .us, so that new team in Naples, Florida, is averaging 4,500 people, 4,500 in a 5,000 capacity stadium. I mean,
wow. How much rascal parking do they need in Naples for all those people who are coming out?
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's got to be such a disparity between like the players' age group and then the fan age group.
I'm sure there are lots of young people in Naples. I'm just having some fun. But we have a couple minutes here. Like, let's just say, like, American soccer is in a good place and moving forward. We'll acknowledge what Sean is saying. Everyone is happy with where we are headed, but afraid that if we stop and enjoy the progress, we'll lose our momentum. That is the psychology of this, right? That we're constantly demanding more because we're afraid if we stop. And of course, and I wrote about the MLS calendar switch idea at my newsletter, which you can find if you follow me on Blue Sky. You'll see me linking to my newsletter. My piece on that dropped today, and I was less concerned about, like, what does this mean for the league, or is it a good idea? Which I did come down with an opinion. But I'm interested in sort of how people are split. The people who care about MLS are split. There's some people who are like, the league has to do this. Momentum, go after it. 2026, switch the calendar, engage with the transfer market. And there are lots of people who are fans and have been going to MLS games for 15 and 20 years. Are like, no, don't do this. I don't want to go to games in February. I don't want to have to figure out my schedule. My life is centered around the calendar as it exists now. And I think that is part of this, which I think is interesting. Again, we like MLS group, there are divisions over how to do this and all that stuff. So I will throw that out. Go read my piece on my newsletter where I break all that down. But since we have a couple minutes and we've acknowledged all these things and we're talking about growth of American soccer, I saw this today. I want to add this to the discussion. This is a brand new team. I just learned about this team courtesy of Front Row Soccer. So, by the way, support Front Row Soccer. My guys over there have been doing it for so long. My brain just blinked out on the name of Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis at Front Row Soccer. Go read Front Row Soccer. Michael Lewis covers soccer in New York, particularly better than anybody, and has been doing it for a long time.
Every level.
I didn't know this team existed. They're called the American Soccer Club. The American Soccer Club. New York. I think this is a Long Island outfit. I think this is out there. Now, I think what they've got is like a club that's got different levels, particularly like youth participation and stuff like that. But they are also, I think, going for a men's team. They're going for a senior level team to represent the 5-county area of the New York metropolitan region. So they want to be a New York team with New York players, which I think is admirable. Also, this badge is great. Come on, that's a great badge, right? What do we got here? We got a lighthouse. I guess that's Long Island, right? We got the Brooklyn Bridge. We've got the Statue of Liberty. We got a ball, and it's a modern ball. Give them credit for using a modern ball.
Yeah, I imagine I know exactly kind of what they're going for here and where they're located based on all the context clues in this badge. So, and then yeah, always got to throw a soccer ball in there. I mean, what else are we playing if we don't know which ball we're using, right?
I can't get over the article, and the American Soccer Club.
There's none other.
There is no other. They are the American Soccer Club.
They sound like a team that could sponsor an American-based, soccer show. I mean, to be the American Soccer Show, to be sponsored by the American Soccer Club has kind of a fun jingle too.
It could be a thing. Could absolutely be a thing. I got to. Let's round out with a couple of questions from the chat. Maybe Rob, you want to throw a couple of things?
Well, I was going to say you referenced the season ticket holder not being happy with the calendar change. There was quite the back and forth between the calendar change, like toughen up, wear a jacket in the winter time, compared to this is the end of my tradition of going to Major League Soccer games. Like, where's the middle there? Are those positions actually that extreme? Is it just, prepare for the winter and it'll be fine? Or is this like breaking of all the traditions of people that have been going there a long time? Well, I mean, there's one of the things that we haven't established here is long-standing traditions that families over generations bake into their family life, and this just becomes part of their family and local lore. Or, I mean, is this that big of a deal, or is it just like, and then it changed and we move forward?
Right. That's the decision that MLS is reckoning with, right? How many of those people do you leave behind if you decide to switch your calendar? And those people are the ones who have been buying tickets and paying you money and giving you, and if not for them, you probably don't have a league. And I know that people think of MLS as this big corporate behemoth that doesn't care about anybody personally, but that is something they have to consider. They're not going to just like, oh, well, we're just going to, scorched earth these fans because we have to switch the calendar. I mean, that is something that you go into. And I do think there's something to be said, because you go back, it's almost 100 years, probably more than that, right? That American soccer has been following this calendar in whatever form it's taken. Whether we're talking about the ASL of the 20s and the 30s and the soccer wars that erupted in the Northeast, or we're talking about NASL in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Those leagues always played through the summer. They always did. Why? Again, you have to go back, I guess, to the beginnings of professional soccer in America to figure that out. But no one's ever really considered swapping the calendar until the Super League in USL with the Women's League is doing that.
So this can either be a bonus or something we can address later in the week, but you were talking about the delaying of the calendar switch until later on, or maybe never, is if it would have happened in 2026, that would have allowed a gap in the calendar pre-World Cup in 2026. And I think that it could have allowed us to have a unique, one-of-a-kind, weird American soccer tournament, like a one-off spectacular.
We talked about this. Yeah.
I think maybe it'll be a Wednesday thing, but trying to think of the most over-top one-off tournament things we could do for just like Evel Knievel, jumps over the goals during celebrations and whatnot, something like that. But that would be kind of fun.
There's some options there.
Jason's totally sold on the idea. Count on it on the next episode of Morning Kick Around. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you haven't done it already, subscribe. Morning Kick Around is trying to hit that 2,000 subscriber mark. And we, if you haven't done so already and you're tuning in, hit that button. Tell your friends and family to do so after that. Follow along on social media at MKickaround, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Write us a note, morningkickaround gmail.com. You can support financially on both with a membership on YouTube and on coffee.com/morningkickaround. Thank you to everyone who supported over there over the weekend. I listed everyone's name off on Friday, and I might just do that next Friday again, or the next episode when we come to a nice round number. But thank you everyone who's subscribed there. Got any final words there, Jason?
No. Thank you very much for being part of the show. Yeah, tell somebody about Morning Kick Around, and yeah, check out my newsletter and my Blue Sky and all the links that are out there that'll help you find all the stuff that's happening around the show and around me.
All right. 6-2 Western Michigan hockey won over the weekend. And until next time, everybody, enjoy your soccer.